So as you know, I'm a big analog fan, and so I'm going to be making use of any plugin that can give me that sound. So when HoRNet approached me to take a look at this plugin, I was obviously interested because I like saturation, right? But yeah, let's get straight into it. This should be fun. I've taken a basic look at the plugin. I really haven't heard what it sounds like in depth, but we're going to spread this plugin across our mix and then see what we can get and talk about it. So let's get into it. First things first, I will do a quick run through of the overview of the plugin. I know a lot of people have already done this. There are a lot of reviews out there that go a lot more in depth, so we'll skim over it. But as you can see over here, we have the VU meter. Now this is obviously important if you are gain staging into the plugin. Personally, I am a big fan of having a VU meter on your input track that you're recording. So if I'm recording a vocalist or I'm recording myself, I'll always be kind of monitoring and looking at where my vocals are, if I'm clipping or not. And personally, my preference is always going to be really to use about like 2 as my max, you know, level, and then -5, -7 is kind of my lower level. And so a range in between there is always going to be sounding good to me. So, you know, that's what I'm really going to be paying attention to when we look at this vocal, for example. Let's just go to where the vocal is. Got this champion on my shirt, you be steady rocking hands. Right, as you can see right there, the vocal's kind of dancing around there. We do have this auto function, which we'll take a look at just now, which will sort that out. But that's what your VU meter is there for, right? So on our left right here, we have our input and output knob. This is our input and output trim. This is going to control how hot we're hitting the plugin and then how soft we're leaving or how loud we're leaving the plugin, right? So if you want to drive your input, for example, get a bit more warmth going on, you can then turn the input up, and then obviously since it's linked, it'll turn down the output. So all you're really getting is that saturation and warmth, but you're not really increasing your level. So that's what that can be used for. Again, you don't have to have your levels linked, but it is pretty cool to have that option. And as you can see right here, we have the mic +20 button. This is just going to simply add on an additional 20 dB of level. So if you really want to clip this plugin, you can do that, easy peasy. Definitely important if you want to really hear that saturation, mix that together with some of the other settings, and you can do that. Moving over to the auto section, what we have over here is pretty much a automatic calibrator essentially, right? What this is going to do is it's going to read your current input level and then tone it down to where you've set, right? So for example, if we leave this at 0 VU, which I would recommend you do, this is pretty much just going to calibrate it and gain stage it for you manually. Now, this will work really well on beats, for example. Maybe, you know, your beat is at 0 VU, you've downloaded it off YouTube. You can just hit that auto button. It's going to turn down the beat and not clip the input section of this. You can actually turn off the link input. So if you wanted to actually turn down your beat, for example, by 12 dB, 13 dB, you could do that and then just leave that level there. And then that way you could work with your track. Lots of cool things you can do. But, you know, I'll leave that to you. Moving on to the next section, as you can see, we have a distortion characteristics section, or, you know, a saturation characteristics section. But basically what we have are 2 main options here. We've got the flavor of saturation. Right now, since these are not, you know, mimicking exact consoles, I would really recommend that you just use your ear to find a sound that you like, right? Personally, I'm probably going to gravitate towards transistor and op amp. Never been the biggest tube fan. We don't actually have any tube gear in the studio, but again, maybe we could use that, right? But just different flavors, they'll sound good on different sounds, so just mess around with that. But additionally, what we have is we actually have the age kind of section, right? And what this is going to do is this is really just going to pretty much emulate as if we have a, you know, 30-year-old console or a 5-year-old console. Doesn't really matter now. You know, maybe you want something on parallel to sound old and dirty, then you could do that. But personally, you know, for example, we have an SSL console. It's a very clean and pristine console. It's very fast. It doesn't have it doesn't really sag, it doesn't do any of that. So personally, I like to keep my consoles new sounding, right? That's kind of the point, right? We want things to sound good and punchy. So, you know, I'm not really going to use this, but again, on parallel kick, parallel vocal, that might sound really good. Over here, we can really name each track, I guess. And then over here, we can actually group our tracks. So for example, if you want all of your vocals on group 1, you could do that and then have everything be affected in the same way. You know, maybe you've got your instrumental or your effects or whatever it is, you can do all of your grouping there. Okay, over here we have our high pass and low pass section. This is also pretty cool, especially for the guys and girls who are recording vocals. If you don't have, for example, a mic preamp with a high pass filter, you can just use that here and pretty much use this as your analog section. Okay, so that's pretty cool. You can use the low pass section just to get a bit more of a tape sound. These filters do sound pretty good, as you can hear. Got this champion on my shirt, you be steady rocking hands, blue bands on the light, that big car got growing pain.
switching lanes. You me not the same, you me not the same. I just need a land, you can keep the
pretty clean, works well. Over here, again, we have our hiss section now. For example, when I'm mixing records, towards the end of the mix, right, if I've used a whole bunch of analog tracks and I've used my mix bus, towards the end of the mix, our master channel will tend to have a little bit of noise on it. So as you can see right there, we've got a little bit of noise going on. So if you really want to emulate that, you can do that as well. Again, we are trying to fight noise usually in the studio. So, use this sparingly. You don't really want your track to sound too much like you've got a lot of hiss going on. But again, if you're making lo-fi or something, you may want to use this. Why not, right? And then over here, we have really the point where the saturation will kick in, or the headroom per se, I would assume, right? Yeah, headroom. And as you can see, the lower we make this, the more easily our track will actually distort.
Dang, got this champion on my shirt. You be steady rocking hands, blue bands on the light. That big car got growing pains. R.I.P. I'm from the dirt. AMG, I'm switching lanes. You me not the same, you me not the same.
So again, you can mess around with that. But nonetheless, that's pretty much all we need to know about this plugin. It's pretty simple and pretty sweet. Let's start mixing with it, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pretty much, for example, work on the instrumental, work on the vocal, and then work on the mix bus. And then we'll kind of see how we can stack up all of these tracks to have our sound a bit better. Okay, so let's do that.
Dang, got this champion on my shirt. You be steady rocking hands, blue bands on the light. That big car got growing pains. R.I.P. I'm from the dirt. AMG, I'm switching lanes. You me not the same, you me not the same. I just need a land, you can keep the fame. Wicked, I'm insane. Why you playing? Break a back like bang. No mic got no vein. Bite a neck like a viper. Mario, I piper. Drip on me, connect. Wi-Fi, do the cyber. Never.
That's pretty cool. I can actually hear the vocal get a little bit more thin the older we make the components sound. And that's pretty cool. Personally, again, I'm just going to keep it at like maybe 3 or 4. I want a little bit of that grittiness, but not too much. I want that vocal to kind of be a bit more smooth and a bit more kind of aggressive at the same time.
Dang, got this champion on my shirt. You be steady rocking hands, blue bands on the light. That big car got growing pains. R.I.P. I'm from the dirt. AMG, I'm switching.
Something like that is cool. We don't want to go too overboard. So that works for me. Let's hop over to the beat, for example, right? So let's mix on there. And boom, we've got another version loaded up right now. Let's just give this a different group so we don't get the tracks looking exactly the same.
Dang, got this champion on my shirt. You be steady rocking hands, blue bands on the light. That big car got growing pains. R.I.P. I'm from the dirt. AMG, I'm switching lanes. You me not the same, you me not the same. I just need a land, you can keep the fame. Wicked, I'm insane. Why you playing? Break a back like bang. No mic got no vein. Bite a neck.
That sounds pretty good to me. Again, we're just going to kind of keep it as if we're mixing through a transistor style console. So let's keep that right there. And as you can see, what I liked there was it actually turned down the beat for me by minus 12 dB. That way I didn't have to go in and spend a few minutes dealing with that. So that's pretty cool. So we'll leave that right there. Now, what I'm also going to do is I'm actually going to add on one of these analog stages to our SFX bus. So all of our effects, our reverbs, our delays, our flanges are all going through this SFX bus. And maybe I want to add a little bit of grit onto that too, right? Why not? We could do that. I'm going to do that real quick. So let's do this. And we'll keep it on transistor right there. As you can see, we'll give this another group as well.
Dang, got this champion on my shirt. You be steady rocking hands, blue bands on the light. That big car got.
And as you can see, it has pretty much automatically detected that, okay, you don't have a lot of volume going on. Why doesn't the plugin just kind of push it into that distortion, into that kind of zero range, and then turn it down? And then that way we're going to get a fatter sounding effects section, right? Maybe you find your reverbs aren't kind of deep enough, right? Sounding deep enough. Maybe your things aren't sounding wide enough. This is going to add in a little bit of that. So right there we go.
Dang, got this champion on my shirt. You be steady rocking hands, blue bands on the light. That big car got.
And all of these subtle changes we're making are going to add up once we kind of finally work towards our master section. So now I'm going to run over to the master section right here, and I'm going to add in that final stage, right? So let's pretend this is our, mix bus. We got a transistor mix bus. Let's leave it at 0 because we want it to sound clean and pristine. Let's see what we can do. I'm going to leave that off for now.
Dang, got this champion on my shirt. You be steady rocking hands, blue bands on the light. That big car got growing pains. R.I.P. I'm from the. Dang, got this champion on my shirt. You be steady rocking hands, blue bands on the light. That big car got growing pains. R.I.P. I'm from the dirt. AMG, I'm switching lanes.
So that's cool. Now it's kind of calibrated the level. Now I'm actually going to turn this up so we can really hit that limiter. So I'm actually going to just turn this limiter on right here real quick.
Dang, got this champion on my shirt. You be steady rocking hands, blue bands on the light. That big car got growing pains. the same, you me not the same. I just need a land, you can keep the fame. Wicked, I'm insane, why you blame? Break a back like Bane, no mic got no vein. Bite her neck like a viper, Mario I Piper. Drip on me, connect, Wi-Fi, a DJ cyber. Never had a front booth pack, got me hyper. Shooters on my rooftop, bazookas and a sniper.
Oh, that actually clips like real analog. That's pretty cool. I thought something here was clean.
Got this champion on my shirt, you be steady rocking hangs. Blue bands on the alert, that big car got growing pains. R.I.P. I'm from the dirt, AMG I'm switching lanes. You me not the same, you me not the same. I just need a land, you can keep the fame. Wicked, I'm insane, why you blame? Break a back like Bane. No.
So I can clearly hear now that we've got the whole mix going on. The older the gear sounds, obviously the less low end and the less high end will have. So it kind of hones in on the mid range. So you could probably make use of this more on a vocal. If you find your vocal maybe is a bit too low end sounding, you could use that to just kind of get a bit of a cheat kind of high pass filter going on. On the mix bus, I personally wouldn't use this because we really want it to sound clean and pristine. So for example, I'd rather have it sound like this.
Got this champion on my shirt, you be steady
right, rather than this, right?
Got this champion on my
sounds a bit more like vinyl. Again, this might work in lo-fi, but for hip-hop and mastering and things like that, you don't want to do that. So we'll leave that right there. Op-amp sounds good. I'll mess around with the tube and see what that sounds like.
Got this champion on my shirt, you be steady rocking hangs. Blue bands on the alert, that big car got growing pains. R.I.P. I'm from the dirt, AMG I'm switching lanes. You me not the same, you me not the same. I just need a land, you can keep the fame. Wicked, I'm insane, why you blame? Break a back like Bane, no mic got no.
So there you go. This is another way that you can really get a digital analog mixing console in your DAW. Highly recommend that you check this plugin out. So if you are interested in this plugin, you can head over to the HoRNet website where you can either get the demo of this or purchase it for €20, which I believe is a fair price for something like this. You know, there are other companies out there that are doing a lot more kind of, you know, marketing and branding that maybe, you know, the sound just isn't adding up. So definitely support, you know, indie developers. I personally like this plugin. I personally use HoRNet plugins on my mixes. I'm a big fan of the HoRNet song key, saves me lots of time. But yeah, this is pretty much a cool plugin, man. I mean, it's simple to use and it does the job. So shout out to HoRNet for sending me this plugin. Nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you learned new ways that you can make use of analog saturators within your DAW. As always, I hope you keep mixing every day. Stay well. I'll check you out next time. Peace out.